Hello and welcome to the 2010 Silkway Rally, the second edition of the cross-country race that this year takes place entirely in Russia. And the competitors were certainly delighted to visit the splendid city of St. Petersburg, host of the start of the Silkway, a city founded in 1703 by Peter I and christened the window to Europe by poet Alexander Pushkin. St. Petersburg, the start of a long road heading south, narrow paths and water for the first few stages to Staraya Russa, then Vyazma and Lipetsk. Then the competitors will meet sandy paths and dunes on the way to Volgograd, Astrakhan and Elista. The race will finally reach the city of Sochi, host of the 2014 Olympic Games. And before racing, it was time for scrutineering, and of course all the eyes were on the Volkswagen team. Strong favourites in the car class. The blue team shows up with 4 race Tuaregs, including that of title holder and 2010 Dakar winner Carlos Sainz. The Spaniard will be on a race Tuareg 3 and fighting with teammates Alatia, De Villiers and Mark Miller. Last year we won the race. It was perfect to prepare for the Dakar. It's a difficult race, a rally during which we'll be able to test out the changes on the car. And honestly, it then allows us to react on the things that aren't working well before the Dakar. Among the outsiders will be Germany's Matthias Kaller, a new member of the SMG team of Philippe Gache. One of 2 French entries, Christian Lavieille carries the hopes of the team Dassault in his Nissan prototype. In the truck race, Team Kamaz shows up as the strong favourites with 7 machines. The Russian squad will be the one to beat. Vladimir Chagin, 6-time winner of the Dakar, leads the Blue Army in a brand new Kamaz. Among those wanting to outpace the Kamaz boys is Czech Republic's Aleš Loprice, 3rd last year. Loprice will want to do even better. And watch out for the boys from the Deroy team, Pep Villa and Hans Doisters. So to the thick of things with the first stage of the rally, a total of 415 kilometers all the way to Staraya Russa, including 86 kilometers of timed special. But before battling it out on the day special, the 43 cars and 16 trucks were splendidly welcomed on the Palace Square of St. Petersburg. Thousands cheered on the heroes of the Silkway. 3rd of the previous edition and winner of 2 stages in 2009, Janil De Villiers hadn't won a time special since then. Over a whole year later, and after a disappointing Dakar, the South African hit back in style.
It was quite a tricky stage, actually a little bit more tricky than we thought. Very bumpy, some tricky places with navigation, and very sandy, so it was important to stay on the track.
Sir Alatia was also eager to resume with real racing after a long break in tests in Morocco. He eventually lost time on the tricky forest tracks and had to settle for 2nd spot. The good surprise of the day came from Russia's Boris Gadasin. The Baja specialist finished 3rd, certainly a lot better than what he was expecting, and puts Gadasin among the podium contenders. Carlos Sainz, the title holder, led the way at the start of the special, but then had bonnet problems and visibility issues, especially for co-driver Lucas Cruz. The race Tuareg missed out on the correct path and lost precious time. He finished 4th. Ilya Kuznetsov could be well satisfied with a 5th spot on home soil. That was his position at the end of last year's event. The narrow rally type tracks of Russia added to the wet conditions were certainly not suited for the buggy of Germany's Matthias Kaller. 20 minutes adrift. In contention for a final podium spot, Christian Lavieille saw his hopes fade away as soon as kilometer 3. We started very motivated, but after 3 kilometers, the windscreen wipers broke down. And out of that, there was a lot of water. So we stopped 3 times, and then would drive in 1st gear. It was terrible. So this first stage goes to South Africa's Janil De Villiers, ahead of Alatia and Gadasin, the surprise man in his G-Force prototype. So quite a few upsets for the big guns. Just imagine how tough it was for the privateers. The tricky paths with bumps, sand, stones, ruts, upsets were bound to occur.
It's broken now.
In the truck class, after winning the very first edition of the Silkway Rally, Firdaus Kabirov had the honour, yet a disadvantage, of opening the way on the first special. He, however, showed that he had the speed on home soil. He finished second on the day, behind his captain and six-time Dakar winner Vladimir Chagin, who initially clocked the second best time on the line, but the officials decided to reduce that time because he had stopped to help Pep Vila. The first stage, first win for Chagin, and 4 Kamaz trucks in the leading 4 positions. Chagin and Kabirov followed by Eduard Nikolaev and Ilgazar Mardiev. Best of the rest was Alaslo Price in his brand new Tatra. The Czech Republic driver admitted he was here to prepare for the Dakar. But the biggest upset of the day came from the Doroi team. Both Iveco machines met problems, especially that of Hans Doisters, breaking a key part of his steering system. They were to lose all hopes of victory. Back at the bivouac, Pep Vila and his Iveco truck were recovering from their crash. As expected, Kamaz domination in the truck race, Chagin winning this one ahead of Kabirov, Nikolaev and Mardiev. Fifth is Loplace. So after a wet opening day on the Silkway, it was time to head to Vyazma for stage 2, a total of 630 kilometers, including 2 timed sectors of 105 and 100 kilometers. And the conditions were far from perfect after an early morning wake-up. Fog had hit Smolensk. The start was pushed back for security reasons because the helicopters couldn't take off and the drivers stranded at the start could enjoy a few words with the locals. Probably upset by a slight setback on the previous day, Carlos Sainz struck back, overtaking Gaddison to clock the best time. It was to be the very first victory of the brand new Race Touareg 3. On the finish line, Sainz could enjoy a 1 minute 30 lead over Al Attiyah.
The
second part was very fast, almost completely straight. I believe we were at an average of 150 kilometers an hour. Sainz, the 2010 Dakar winner, took command of the overall with a 1 minute 7 second advantage over main rival Al Attiyah. The driver from Qatar did his best, but that just wasn't good enough. Mark Miller struggled during day 1, losing 25 minutes due to water in his electronical system. He took third spot on the second day of the rally. A race leader on a cross-country event is a hunted man. Janil de Villiers took off first and knew it would be hard. He finished 4th, completing a Volkswagen 1-2-3-4. Again, the most dangerous rival of the Volkswagen boys was Russia's Boris Gaddison in his G-Force prototype. The Baja specialist and current runner-up of the World Cup made the best of the long, fast stretches at the end of the day.
Левая вилка, левые 3. Сюда.
Fifth of the day, he was 5 minutes adrift. As the days go by, Germany's Matthias Kalle is looking more and more comfortable behind the wheel of his SMG buggy. He captured 6th spot and moves up to 8th overall. Also doing rather well is Ukraine's Bogdan Novitsky. The Nissan driver finished 7th and is 5th overall, in contention for a podium spot. A muddy and demanding day it was on the way to Vyazma, especially for the slower crews, having to cope with traffic, mud and deep ruts dug by the leading vehicles. We wanted to overtake the car ahead of us, but when we went wide we got stuck in the mud. On the first half of the special, the narrow forest path trapped quite a few cars, including those of Sergei Shekin and Dmitry Yevlev. And after a long moment stranded in the muddy path, both cars eventually were able to carry on with the help of the friendly locals. At the bivouac, the atmosphere was rather sad. In the Dessous team, Christian Lavie had been forced to quit the race for electrical reasons. Carlos Sainz takes command of the overall standings now with a 1 minute 7 second advantage over Al Attiyah. Third is De Villiers Gaddison, still fourth. The truck race was dominated by Eduard Nikolaev, a name to remember. At only 26 years of age, the Russian captured his first ever major success on the Silkway. Already third on stage one, Nikolaev proved again he carried the future of KAMAZ on his shoulders. A co-driver of Chagin on the last two Dakar rallies, Nikolaev appears to have learned well. And the young man was warmly congratulated at his return to the bivouac. It's a very important day for me. I'm overwhelmed to finish ahead of drivers like Kabirov and Chagin. I really just can't believe I won this stage. Behind Nikolaev was title holder Firdaus Kabirov, who crossed the finish line with a 30-second deficit on his young teammate. Chagin started first in the morning, not the best of positions. He still only lost 40 seconds on the day's winner, retaining his overall lead. Sixth on day one, Frans Eschter was to be the best of the non-KAMAZ drivers, and that in itself is quite a performance. German in his MAN truck finished at an excellent fourth position. Alex Loprice doesn't quite have the speed yet, and again in his new Tatra truck, the nephew of legendary Karel, a multiple winner of the Dakar, struggled behind the KAMAZ boys, finishing fifth at over 3 minutes. Behind the Czech driver was another KAMAZ man, Ilgazar Mardiev, who certainly has the experience and speed to finish on the podium. Looking better for the Doroi trucks, Deuters and Villa finished 8th and 9th. And in the evening, the 56 remaining crews, 40 cars and 16 trucks, were fully focused on the hard day to come. A look at the overall standings in the truck race. Chagin leads with a 1 minute 34 second advantage over Kabirov. Nikolaev is third. While more splendid sights and landscapes welcome the 54 remaining competitors for stage 3. And as the days go by, the specials get longer. 218 kilometers of time sector with quite a bit of navigation on the way to Lipetsk. To the truck race and some spectacular action on the large stretches of high grass. The big machines could really power on. Real cross-country rally and KAMAZ terrain for sure. And the race witnessed its first upset, but it didn't really concern title holder Firdaus Kabirov. His experience paid off yet again. At a fast and consistent pace all the way to the line, he managed to avoid the many traps and conquered stage victory. It was also looking good for Alex Loprice, fifth the first 2 days. The Czech driver managed his best performance in his new Tatra, overtaking the man of Eschter and clocking the second best time, still over 7 minutes slower than Kabirov. Loprice moves up to fourth spot overall. Vladimir Chagin was flying on the stage, really pushing his KAMAZ to the limits. And CP1, the six-time Dakar winner, could enjoy a 3-minute lead over Kabirov, and he carried on speeding ahead to CP2. It then all went wrong for the Russian KAMAZ driver.
Uh,
16 kilometers from the finish, we hit a large piece of metal in a place with high grass where we couldn't see anything. We punctured a tire, and it then took us 12 minutes to change the wheel.
Потеряли 12 минут на замене колеса, буквально перед самым финишем.
Bad day for King Chagin, losing over 11 minutes on the day, dropping down to second overall. And that upset was almost a detail on the day of the KAMAZ. Ilgazar Mardiev captured fourth spot. Stage winner on day 2, Eduard Nikolaev, had to settle for fifth spot. So the new overall standings, Kabirov takes command of the Silkway Rally with a 9 minute 49 seconds advantage over Chagin. Like on the previous day, fog delayed the beginning of the special. After a long liaison to reach the start, the drivers waited for the helicopters to show up for the official launch. In the Volkswagen team, while many were expecting a fantastic Dakar-type battle between Sainz and Al Attiyah, Gilles de Villiers reminded that he was a man to count on. After taking off fourth of the day's 218km special, the South African claimed a second stage win this year. Carlos Sainz and co-driver Cruz struggled in the high grass and lost precious time due to navigation. On one or two occasions, their race Touareg was seen turning around to find the correct track. The Spaniard, however, keeps control of the overall standings, but is under the pressure of de Villiers and Al Attiyah in the same time. Third on the day was Qatar's Nasser Al Attiyah, but he was to struggle with front diff issues. Nothing too serious, with the Dakar 2010 runner-up admitted a lack of power in his race Touareg. Like on the previous day, it was all blue in the car race of the Silkway Rally. Mark Miller, in his heavier race Touareg due to spare parts, captured 4th spot, now 6th overall. But he's still behind this man, Boris Gadassin, who has been showing he has the speed and consistency ever since the start of the rally in St. Petersburg. Once again, Gadassin in his G-Force prototype proved to be the best non-Volkswagen driver in 5th position.
Сегодня был очень интересный день, действительно интересный спецучасток.
It was very interesting, a nice stage, but it was tricky. Difficult navigation, and it made us lose some precious minutes. But I guess that's racing.
Но спецучасток очень понравился.
Another man in shape is Benedictas Vanagas, driving an Oscar prototype. He finished 5th. After a poor start to the rally, he lies in 14th position overall at well over 1 hour. And still in there with the best was Matthias Kaller. Again, his two-wheel drive buggy should be a lot more adapted to the sandy stretches and dunes to come. Still, he captured an excellent 7th position and is 6th overall. It wasn't a good day, however, for Ukraine's Bogdan Novitsky in his Nissan. He seriously struggled with navigation, lost in the wide stretches of Russia, time deficit 45 minutes. In the overall standings, Carlos Sainz keeps control, but is under the pressure of Al Attiyah and de Villiers at 1 minute 19. The heat was to be a key factor on the day, but worst of all was the high grass, making visibility a nightmare. We were on the North Road portion, and we hit something. I don't know what it was, but now our steering is broken. The Russian crew was left stranded working on their Nissan Navara. Also in trouble, but for different reasons, was Israeli crew Heyman and Sigal.
Water pump is leaking.
And that's the rally spirit. The Israelis were helped out by local firemen. They reached the finish well after 9 o'clock. Day 4, the longest stage of the rally, 790 kilometers, including 302 of time special with off-road and dunes. The race settles in Volgograd, formerly known as Stalingrad, a city that will remain in history. During 6 months, from August 42 to February 1943, millions of German and Russian soldiers lost their lives in a battle that would be a real turning point of the Second World War. It was just too good for Boris Gadassin, 4th overall behind the 3 Volkswagens and in front of Mark Miller. He was living a dream before this crash at kilometer 37. Race over for the G-Force prototype. Already a winner yesterday, de Villiers was to open the way. A real nightmare in the high grass with the lack of visibility. Well, that didn't prevent the South African from grabbing his 3rd stage success and the overall lead.
It was really tricky in the middle, in the dune section, some really dangerous drop-offs. we had a moment or two there, but it's to be expected on a stage like that. But other than that, very nice run. The car ran very well, and no, I'm happy with another one for sure.
Carlos Sainz was having a fine day, the kind of day that could have helped him increase his overall lead. Enjoy the show with El Matador. But a slight mistake forced the Spaniards to brake hard, and his race Touareg stalled, and it took over 2 minutes for the car to start again. Concerning third man Nasser Al Attiyah, the day was rather frustrating after he too was forced to stop to repair a cooling pipe as soon as kilometre 16, and then again for a puncture. The driver from Qatar lost over 6 minutes on the day. Mark Miller took it nice and easily. He crossed the finish line with a deficit of over 10 minutes on De Villiers, in a perfect position to help out, just in case. He moves up to 4th overall. The stage was a lot more like it for Matthias Kaller in his two-wheel drive buggy. Consistency is an asset on the Silkway Rally. The German has just that, plus the speed. But Kaller will have to fight his way to Sochi to keep that precious 5th spot. Indeed, Mironenko and his Nissan are putting the pressure on the German, only 10 minutes behind. Ilya Kuznetsov will certainly be pushing hard in the days to come. At stake, the possibility to finish best Russian of the rally. Fight is on with Mironenko. A fantastic day it was, especially in the dunes by Volgograd, a day that would remain in the memories of many, especially the privateers under the hot sun of southern Russia. Not a good day for Pavel Loginov in his Patriots prototype, and even worse for Alexei Sergeyev, just too much to cope with. And when it wasn't the sand, it was mechanical problems for the man who finished 7th last year, Andrei Berkut. He eventually managed to repair his Pajero Evo and reach the bivouac. So Janil De Villiers now the new overall leader ahead of Sainz, Al Attiyah and Mark Miller for Volkswagen, the leading 4 positions. Hugo Deusters' Silkway started badly when he suffered steering problems as soon as day 1. Well, the Belgium had another serious setback on the way to Volgograd. The Iveco truck of the De Roy team crashed. Game over for Deusters? Not quite yet. And the days go by and don't look alike for LS. Loprice second on the previous day, his best performance in his new Tatra. He suffered in the off-road portions, losing over 38 minutes and dropping down to 5th. And there was much he could do against the likes of Vladimir Chagin in his Kamaz, eventually 3rd fastest. In the truck race, the destiny of the title holder, Firdaus Kabirov, hasn't really changed. He won the special and leads the standings. The navigation was very difficult. We met our first difficulties to find the good path. Thankfully, there were many people on the side of the road to help us out. And that was really precious. Another fine performance it was to be for Eduard Nikolaev. Second almost looked like victory for a man who is still learning. He's only 26. While Loprice was struggling, Franz Eschter continued his fine and consistent run. Thanks to 4th spot on the day, he conquered a precious 4th position overall in his MAN truck. And while his teammate Deusters was stranded in the sand, Pep Vila continued his comeback. He's now 5th. So Kabirov leads the way with a 12-minute 45 advantage over Vladimir Chagin. Nikolaev is 3rd, Eschter 4th. So Volgograd and its bivouac welcomed the remaining competitors of the Silkway Rally. Already the halfway mark, but still a lot to have to deal with, including sand and dunes on the way to Sochi.